Welcome back, everyone, to the Influencer Tournament. This is Adam Duncan.
And this is Chris Adams with the RVA Returners.
Glad to be back, Chris. This was a lot of fun the first time. We are in round two now, and we're looking at some L3 action, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and two world-class players, Chris Matisky and Kurosawa. So we got the world champ on the right and Matisky on the left. Obviously, we got to call Matisky's round one game, so this will be fun to see what he brings to the table this time. And of course, against the defending world champ, like I said, Kurosawa.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't think of a more exciting matchup here. I really wouldn't hate following Chris Matisky through this tournament if that's the way she goes, but,
Oh,
you know,
that's right.
so with L3, we've seen their lists, and we
Mm-hmm.
know from our perspective, both of these lists look really great. They look like they're going to be an exciting matchup here. We've got Fire Wind on Kurosawa on the right, and then how do you was it some Earth Lightning 7 action or what was what's
More, he's got some Rand pair going on with some
that's right.
FF15 cards. So two very established concepts, just in a different presentation. Because you hit the nail right on the head. Of course, Tisky starting out with the cards with the deck's namesake,
Hey,
pitching a
there he is.
Liberatus to play Rand pair. Um, L3. Let's talk about that for just a quick second. What it is? It's a limited format. When I say limited, it's not like a sealed or draft. It's just a smaller rotating format. L3 is shorthand for last three, meaning the last three release sets are what's legal for the format. And as a new set comes out, like in this case, it's Opus 9, 10, and 11. So when Opus 12 comes out, Opus 9 disappears, and then it's going to be 10, 11, 12. So,
Right off the bat, like you said, Rampair out in front, and then Kurosawa putting Ritz in the break zone, as we've seen from this set. That's where Ritz wants to be early in the game, getting ready for that march. So we know we're watching two, despite a limited card pool, we're seeing two very powerful approaches here to these decks right away. Both players doing what I think they'd say they want to do turn one.
absolutely. And just for those watching, I do see the damage counter is at one. That is not correct,
Yeah,
unless they're having Matisky play with a handicap.
yeah, I would take that handicap. I'm a plus one Matisky player myself. I need a little bit of a handicap if I'm facing him.
That's right. That's right. You know, so what we're seeing here. Again, some very very powerful cards here. We got Glauca. Again, Glauca is really just going to be the fuel for all these purple cards that we're going to be seeing. Glauca, an excellent Opus 11 addition to the Lightning element. Just reducing the cost of all those forwards is just going to pay so many dividends over the course of this game.
Especially right away too. I mean, that's definitely the first forward you want to cast if you've got a bunch of lightning forwards in your
Mm-hmm.
list. And you've played with a lot of the Opus 11 lightning cards, so I trust your take on Glauca here. Definitely something that you think the element needed.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Ooh,
Irvin is coming down and just going to blast Glauca just right off the board. And again, it's very important to see that one of the things about L3 right now is that you may see some strange card choices. Again, Irvin being one of them. Again, because you are playing with a more limited card pool, this does make it a little bit more enticing, maybe for newer players that might only have access to the most recent sets. And it's also, I think, a really unique way to um, get a good look at cards, or maybe cards you maybe not wouldn't give another look to.
interesting end of the turn there. Matisky's casting Raiden just to draw a card,
Yeah,
and
he
that's
must not have good hands. He must not have good cards in the hand there.
or you didn't want to see that Glauca get removed right away. It's also interesting we see
Yeah.
Barthandelis over in the break zone. That's a little wrinkle to the list here, getting
Mm-hmm.
Barthandelis out. I'm very intrigued to see that card in action in this list. I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
really cool idea. And that was a Tyro getting Kadaj out. It
Oh
looks like
man,
Matisky is not intrigued by seeing Ritz or any of those other cards in the break zone. I would imagine that's exactly why he fished out Kadaj right away. Start
yep.
start cleaning up taking out the recycling, making sure that those cards don't quite come back
Absolutely. Kadaj,
right
very,
away.
very powerful. Yeah, Ritz, and I would probably, if I see this the lone ice card in the break zone, I'd probably send that thing packing too. But he is not. He's getting ready to the Belias and the Ritz.
Well, he may have a more developed perspective on L3 than I do. I'm trying to imagine how Barthandelis operates from the break zone, and I'm coming up a
Mhm.
little empty, but
I am too.
I, you know, definitely great to get Ritz out of the way because you don't want to start that clock with Marsh Ritz right now. I mean, or
Hmm.
ever really. That's a card that, and there's the ice that we see Kurosawa playing the backup Moogle that
Hmm.
when it's on the field can produce ice as well as fire. So really kind of when you take into account those Moogles and that series of cards existing
Hmm.
in L3, I think they're really important in terms of deck building. I think they give you so much of an option and so many different angles.
Hmm. Yep, and of course Kadaj coming back, just getting the 2K and Brave, which just again just a really solid neutral option.
Yeah,
Uh, and Kadaj just a very powerful card. Part of that two-player starter set, the Cloud versus Sephiroth starter set. Um, Definitely a fantastic legend quality card. Flipping an Unsaganashi on damage,
that's a good
big
hit.
hit. It's a
Yeah.
big hit.
I know we're really high on Unsaganashi. The more I play with it, and I've played with it a ton, the more I think to myself, this card is so mandatory if you have access to it. It's so good
Oh,
at what it
absolutely.
does.
Absolutely, it just does a lot, and there's some very powerful forwards that are already hard to interact with. But you slap an Unsaganashi on the board, that that already very hard card to interact with has just become exponentially harder.
Seriously. So we've got a really interesting sort of series of turns here where
Hmm.
Kurosawa right away starts doing what he wants, and Matiski managing very well just off
Hmm.
of Kadaj, getting it off of Tiro, which is another card that the more I play with just feels, I don't
Oh
want to say
man,
mandatory. I guess you could certainly build without it, but it's so good at doing what it does. Of just right as we saw, gets an answer right away and puts it to work. So what we have here, Lilty, is that the name of that backup?
Yep. So we're looking for a win card, which,
There we go.
yep. And you really hate to see that Princess Sarah hit the bottom, but you're okay with seeing the Echo come, because that Echo is going to search out
Mobius, I
a
think.
Mobius character. Yep. Which Barthandelus, I believe, is a Mobius character. So we've got a way to, get that card onto the board. But you already see two of them in the break zone. Again, I'm not sure how that card's coming out of the break zone.
The Moogle, the backup Moogle.
Hmm.
Because you can. Oh, you mean out of the break
Yeah,
zone? Yeah,
how is
yeah.
he getting it out of the break zone?
I was thinking
Let's
out of
see.
hand. I mean, he's lucky to see that Moogle now with the other two because those are the only ice cards. But yeah, I think that's probably something he wants now. If he wants to play the card, it'd be good to go find it right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks
Yep.
like
So I
that's what
think
he's
that's what
after.
we're doing.
Or
I think we're gonna get it down before we lose the third one. But it's also, if this card is, I don't, just looking at his list, I don't think it's a centerpiece. I definitely think it's more of a tech piece. Again, this could be
yeah,
something that's. Oh yeah, Yizmat. Yizmat is also a Mobius character.
and
So
he's gonna end his turn with 5 cards in hand and 5 backups. So yeah, that seems fine to have a 9 CP card ready to go when you want it.
hmm. No, absolutely. And then Yizmat going to be able to just reactivate all characters. He's going to get a lot of mileage out of that card because I don't know what Matiski's list has outside of maybe a good clean Nyx break to get rid of Yizmat.
Yeah, he's gonna start being able to do whatever he wants with Fiona back up too on
Mm-hmm.
Yasmat. That's a I've never been able to actually do that myself.
Oh,
Oh, speaking of, I think we might see it here.
yeah, Yizmat on burst. Now we're going to go get our whatever card we want at the end of Matiski's turn. That's huge.
Yeah, I haven't been able to ever play those cards in that sequence, but it's cool to sort of
Oh,
watch it
never.
work.
It never happens, but man, doesn't it feel
Right,
great? It feels great to watch, but I'm sure it even feels even better when you're on the actually, when you're on the business end of it.
right.
So, like I said, Fiona just being able to just really get him whatever he wants. Fiona, an excellent win card. Just makes wanting to play a card like Yizmat just makes it even more enticing.
So Matiski here has been content just to let Kadaj handle this
Hmm.
shift and
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
build some resources in hand. looks like we're deciding action at the end of turn here.
Mm-hmm. Are we doing it? Or are we going to? Okay, we're just not doing it. We're just going to next turn. We're just going to draw phase.
Oh, I
That
thought for
might be a.
sure he would have done Fiora. Does he not have the win CP to do
He
Fiora?
might not. Let me.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that card
He
up
might
myself.
not. Yep, Fiona. He looks like he may be one win CP short to do that efficiently.
Touch of a bummer there, but
Yep.
still a play if he wants to get rid of old win backups in his hand,
Hmm.
replace them with a better card.
No, absolutely. I agree with that. So what's going to be his play this turn? I mean, you don't really necessarily need to drop the Ismat here. I mean, his forward selection, he's got. I mean, he's got some moves, right? He's got some things he can
Oh
definitely
yeah.
do here. Um,
No, we have the benefit of looking at these lists, and so we can share. He does have a lot of utility forwards. An issue with those, I'm thinking, without seeing his hand, I'm not sure his break zone's in a great place to see a Citra or a Terra. We know a Marsh is a little out right now. Is that a BFA or a Yasmat that's coming out? Yes,
yeah,
Yasmat.
Yasmat, and we're gonna.
And he's getting rid of the BFA and the Marsh. I think has lost some value after seeing Ritz go away. You're gonna have to
Mhm.
play Marsh and Ritz at the same time. Oh, that's not a bad pairing to see there. Unsaganashi and Yasmat.
Yep. No, absolutely.
One thing, he does have red cap in the list, which is a way of clearing up his backup line a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Red cap, a really really neat card. Again, this whole format just allows you to showcase some cards that you maybe otherwise wouldn't give a second look to.
Yeah, and I think that's the real appeal is that you've allowed by placing the limitation of the last three sets, and you
Hmm.
take away some of the obvious choices, and you say, what are you going to do now? I mean, maybe that's where Red Cap shines is when it's a card that's 3 CP, and to use its ability, you're removing a backup from the game, and on paper, when you're looking at 11 sets, you don't know if that's one of the 50 cards you're going to sleeve up, but when you're looking at
Hmm.
these last three sets, it's appealing for a lot of different ways.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially when I mean, though, even then, which I think is odd. I mean, since we're playing 9, 10, and 11, I'm really surprised to maybe not see a copy of Nail or two in Kurosawa's list.
I agree. I think Nail would be really well positioned right here. In fact, we don't have a lot of ways we feel really great about dealing with Kadaj right now.
No, absolutely, yeah. Kadaj is, and that's kind of been a tale of that card since the moment it was released. Even going back to what everybody lovingly calls Opus 10.5. Um, Kadaj was an impact player the minute he joined the team, as it were.
So thinking about that
Drafted right
timeline,
out of high school.
right? Yeah, exactly. Drafted out of high school there. While Opus 11 was still in the farm system being developed and working on their skills, you had Kadaj right away, and everyone's like, "You gotta watch this kid." So he's
That's
he's a
right.
part of a starter set that was released about a month or two before
Hmm.
the Opus 11 fully came out. And quite honestly, I think if you're looking at Kadaj thinking, I wonder what the rest of this set's going to bring, I think you shouldn't have been too disappointed because Opus 11 brought us a lot of goodies.
No, absolutely,
So we
absolutely.
played a Gabranth. What did we see? Kane off of that?
Yep. We grabbed a cane off of that. So let's see what. All right. So we've got a Yizmat trigger. Are we gonna play something and see if we can activate? Do we have a maybe a Fiona option here? Because I think, I mean, there's really no other really thing you can do with the Yizmat triggers. There's really no good option here other than spending the CP on a Fiona. Like I feel like you have to.
Right, right. You're not breaking a monster. You're not. There's no forward of cost 5 or more other than Yazmat, which doesn't make
Hmm.
any sense.
That's right.
So activating all the characters is certainly, when you cast a 9 CP forward like Yasmat, it's great that it's got 10k power, but those modes are where you're really spending your CP. So
No, absolutely.
we want to see him get something out of that right now, because it's not going to block. Kadaj has already lifted 3 points of damage and got. I mean, Kadaj has done so much in these early turns. He's taken Marshritz out of play early. Not like it's completely out of play. He could drop a Ritz to play Marsh and get it back, and I think the tide might change really quickly. That's why I think, if he's got a win card in his hand, pitch it to Fiona and go get you a Marsh or Ritz, whatever you need.
Wow, but we're not doing that. We are going all the way. We're just skipping it. We're just choosing. Oh wow, and then we got a Gabranth off burst for the first point of damage from Matiski. Huge, absolutely huge.
You give Matiski resources, he's going to build something out of it. I mean, we give him card advantage. That's the way his mind thinks.
That's right. He's like the old Kathy comic strip. Her mom just turning a pea into a massive chicken dinner. that is Chris Matiski in this game for sure.
If you've ever followed any of his content or had a conversation with him, he's so analytical when he reads things. So, you're just. Does he trade a point of damage for a card in hand there? Probably every single turn from here until the 7th point of damage, he'll do that.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, I'm not sure. And I'm not one. I'm not going to question. I'm not going to question Kurosawa. I'm not going to question his card knowledge, his game knowledge. I'm just. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with his deck. I mean, obviously, there's good. We're playing good cards, right? We're playing Yasmet. We're playing BFA. We're playing Marshritz. We're playing Unsaganashi. We've got excellent pieces in this deck, but I'm not sure, how they all gel together. Where when you look on the other side of the table, you're looking at a fully fleshed out Ran pair list.
Yeah.
Your Shantotos, your Canes, your excellent Kingsglaive package. You're looking at Gabranth to kind of fuel all of that. There's Glauca to just create these crazy wide board states. The only thing that this list is now really missing is just that explosive Alua turn. But Glauca can just put you in a position where it's like you have your opponent with, well, what are you going to do against all these forwards? And you can get to a point that if you let yourself get to 6 damage, Aranea is going to be your shoal, essentially.
Oh yeah, and that's a card we haven't really had an opportunity to see a lot of action around. Certainly not in this game yet, but I mean, just in general, because of the way organized play has not happened this year for this set so far. But that's a pressure point that, I mean, Matiski's running 3 of them, and we're certainly we can expect to see one, I'd say. So we got the red cap action, getting rid of. We played another fire backup. What's that one there?
That is a Opus 11 standard unit, I believe. That is the Warrior. He just put Warrior into the break zone, choose a forward. It gains 1,000 power until the end of the turn. For Fire 1 and Dull, put Warrior into the break zone, choose a forward, deal it 5,000 damage. So it's a backup that can remove itself, thankfully, because you don't want to lock yourself out of more win sources. Because again, Fiona's been there since turn 1, and there's been 2 opportunities to where Fiona could do something and possibly get Kurosawa the next card. But I guess the question is, do you have to outweigh, would it have been efficient not having to pitch that card from hand to potentially get something else?
Right.
So there's a lot to unpack there for sure.
I think for Matiski here, you're looking at those and saying, what do I really care about? What mechanics could interact with any of these? Mm-hmm. Do I just give Brave and +2 to Kadaj so that I can be aggressive and
I would.
Yeah, I think his aggressive play, I mean, he's already presented to us, at least, that we've seen a way to make Rampair do what we want. So Matiski's just sort of cruising right now. So he's on cruise control, but he's got a full tank ready to slam that accelerator down when he wants to.
Absolutely. And I think the main reason you want to go Brave in 2K here, just in case Kurosawa has a way to reactivate Yizmat. You don't want
Right.
Yizmat to just be that surprise blocker. Having Kadaj as an 11K, you don't really care.
Right. Right. Now Warrior with Yasmat.
Seems
I th-
pretty okay.
yeah, I thought it might be better, but both of his modes break him, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't get multiple activations. But that's definitely a way of putting him over the top. Another thing I
Mm-hmm.
don't think we've mentioned here is that one neat thing about this tournament is that there is a team structure to it. So if you have a teammate that has chosen the elements you're viewing, fire wind, for example,
Mm-hmm.
then you're locked out of those elements. Is that correct? Is that the
I,
structure?
I believe it's similar to that. John kind of told us some of the details. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. That if like you said, if your partner decides they want to play, Earth Lightning, you can't play any of those cards. So I think you're absolutely correct.
Which is cool from a tournament perspective. What they're trying
Yeah,
to accomplish here, it's neat, so that we don't see a ton of fire wind decks, for example.
exactly. Or again, I think again another Rampair deck. That's another deck that I think is positioned very well in L3, just because all of those pieces really just kind of
Yeah.
came at the same time. So absolutely.
So Matiski has to have at least, I mean, five to seven cards in hand at this point.
Oh yeah, he has stayed strapped this entire time. But he's got to be careful, right? Like one thing about the Rampair list is that it uses a lot of these big cost forwards, and Yizamat is just there, gonna just machine gun him down,
Yep.
pretty
Yep.
much. So it's tough. You can't really unless you can get yourself maybe a nice like Libertas Nyx turn, or just play Nyx, break it, get the Yasmat off the table. But that's easier said than done because of that Unsaganashi. And I think if he tries to do that, you're immediately playing the Unsaganashi to protect the Yasmat at that point.
I completely agree. I think we're functionally removing Yasmat twice here. We've got to
Yeah, we have to, and
play that.
that's not an easy task.
No, no. Um, I think he might be up for it if that's the challenge to get him to seven damage here. He's
Mm-hmm.
he's had a he's had a fortunate series of turns with Tyro into Kadaj, definitely getting a ton of value from Kadaj, hitting Cabranth to get the cane. I mean
Mm-hmm.
he's where he needs to be if his deck can do it. I think it can now or when he needs to, he's got it. But
Yep. And truthfully, when I'm looking at Matiski's list, um, the only removal in the deck for a big body like that is actually Nyx. Like that's it.
yeah, that's
So
pretty
there's
interesting.
yeah. So he'd have to, or you'd have to do something. You'd have to burn multiple cards. Like you'd have to
Hmm.
reduce the power with Kane and then hit it with Anima, or or something. There's a lot you would have to do in order to.
And we're seeing one Nyx in the list.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what's happening here with the red cap?
So red cap, in order to play from hand, or is he bringing it? Is he pulling it off of the break zone?
I
Oh,
think I saw.
he hits Citra off damage, and he's pulling it.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay. I looked away to look at the deck list to look at removal, and yep, I see the Citra there. Yep, Citra gets a monster or a summon. Red cap. I mean, I want to say that might be his only option in the
I
break
think
zone.
so. I think so. I think everything's been removed from Kadaj, which, I mean, in a sense, maybe it feels like an oversight to
Mm-hmm.
leave it there, but I think you're fine. And also, if you don't give plus 2K and Brave to Kadaj, I mean, you still may be looking at a combat trick or something
Yep.
to ram him into a Yasmat. And after all the work he's done, that'd be a bad way
You
to
hate to see
go.
that.
Yeah. A red cap still keeps that backup line fluid when you think
Mm-hmm.
about it. And I think that's pretty compelling. All
We've
right.
got Claris going to get us another king, which he could easily get Regis, another Rampair if necessary. I think those are the two big targets in the list.
it is wild to me that Rampair would have gotten better. It's not a card on my radar that I would have expected got a boost from
Hmm.
Opus 11, and then you see, no, now you can tutor it up. I just think that's really neat. I mean, it's bold to have a deck that's
Hmm.
built very well. Rampair is a deck that has a lot of options. It's not hard to accomplish the things Rampair is trying to accomplish. And then you say, you know what? Let's make it so that you can tutor up Rampair anytime you want. So now we got a Libertas dancing on it into the field here.
Yeah, but he is, and he's probably going to be dancing right into the break zone after that because Yzmat's going to take care of him, and he's targeting the Glauca, so he won't get a backup activation off of it, which is fine because I don't think he's seen a single Nyx yet, unless he's got one in hand that he's just. You don't mind I don't mind burning the Nyx to, pop the Unsaganashi, but
Well, we
you
haven't
have.
demonstrated that we have any break zone interaction from our opponent here either. So
Mhm.
that I think he gets away with the one Nyx as long as he doesn't see it in damage, which you can't really game plan for that. That's just bad luck if you have a singleton copy hit your damage zone.
Mhm.
But I'd say it's worth it to get rid of Unsaganashi.
Yeah, but I think let's see what he's going to do here with. Yep. So I think we're going to go. Are we going to go ahead and break the Libertas, or are we going to go ahead?
I mean, you have an option here. You have a lot of options, right? You could play Red Cap and you could get rid of Libertas. You could play a win backup and activate and start tutoring. Maybe I'm a little fixated on that line. I just want to see
Well,
Fiona
no,
get
I
it
think
done.
that's the big payoff of playing Fiona and Yzmat in the same deck. Like that's such a, why not every turn get the card that you want?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, even if you just think about drawing an extra card a turn, that's pretty wild. But it's getting exactly what you want out of your deck every single turn. If you do it once, it feels good. I mean, he's just been really unfortunate in the backups. I don't think that's a fault of his at all. He's played what he needed to play. It's really unfortunate that one of them can't generate an additional win CP to see that.
Yep, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, it's still great to see just get rid of the Libertas. Just as a
Yep.
Yasmat now starting to get a little bit of its promised value into the game plan here. But no one I think is really necessarily very far or ahead here. How would you assess it? Probably about midway through this match right now. Who do you think has the advantage?
I mean, you've got to give it to you've got to give it to Kadaj, right? We
Yeah,
haven't seen anything that can effectively deal with that Kadaj, and as long as that card is going to continue to come back, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. Because
I think
the
we
way.
just found a way to interact with it too, didn't we? We get Terra down. We've got a 2K ping. Oh, we're
Mhm.
playing red cap. See, I
Oh,
would have
he's coming
loved.
in hot.
I guess if you now what you're presenting with red cap in hand and Terra, and knowing we have a summon to ping, then Kadaj is sort of obligated into a +2 and brave each turn because Terra and red cap could have taken care of it, but
Hmm. Let's see. Not much happening in the break zone there. Still two Barties, Marsh, a BFA, and it looks like a Fran. So not much happening there. But we've now established a board. So
yeah.
Kadaj losing a little bit of that effectiveness, but he's again, it's still a card that there's what am I trying to say here? The power level of this card, like there's nothing outside of Yzmat that is really threatening to do anything to that Kadaj right now. And again, so I'm still, if there was the advantage bar at the bottom of the screen here, I definitely still have to give the advantage to Matiski and Kadaj.
Yeah, Kadaj has taken Matiski from a place of being certainly behind. We would have seen Marsh Ritz, we would have seen other options of
Oh,
break zone interaction.
absolutely,
And instead
absolutely.
of being behind, he's now comfortably ahead, at least a little. I don't think he's commanding. I don't know if I'd say he's leading, even though he's up on damage a little bit. But But, he's got a lot of cards in hand. He's tutored up exactly what he wants. He's likely been waiting for this board to develop some. I still think that from our perspective, we might feel a little better if we had forced the Saganashi interaction, but maybe there wasn't an efficient way of doing that.
Agreed. Agreed.
Now, though, I mean, you don't have a lot of big power level forwards or anything other than Yasmat, which is fine. You're only at 2 damage. Yasmat's, I think, getting away from the card advantage angle now. Now that Kurosawa's starting to present a little more aggression, now he's just like, okay, play your big dudes. I don't care. But both of these players, lots of cards in hand, 4 backups on one side, 5 backups on the other. Kurosawa's about to turn a corner. I think he's going to make a push for getting ahead himself here shortly.
Yep. Well, because now, like you said, Matiski has to. He can't just dink and dunk with Kadaj anymore. He
He's going to have to
start
start
playing other forwards on the board. Again, you kind of touched on it a little bit that if he plays any of these big forwards that the Rampair deck likes, Yasmat's going to just start machine gunning them down. So we might see a point in the game where unless he can play a few more bodies, we might hit a point where Kadaj might not be able to leave the board anymore.
I think that's true. He's done his job so far.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree with that. So we'll see here. We're playing Glauca. Looks like we're giving we're putting the 1,000 power buff onto Kadaj. All right, we've got Anima here.
Anima's pretty
so
interesting.
That's gonna be so that's going to give us a Glauca trigger here. We're going to put that. I guess we're going to put the 1K buff on Kadaj again, so he is now just sitting at 11K. Or it could be 13K. I'm not sure what option he chose with Kadaj when he came in. Oh, no, he dulled Terra. Okay, so he dulled Terra. So he's now, Kadaj is sitting at an 11K thanks to 2 Glauca triggers.
I'm going to say I'm doing it for someone watching, but I'm really doing it for myself. And remind myself exactly what Anima does, as this is a newer card. So, 4 CP Lightning, 8,000 power. When a forward opponent controls is put from the field into the break zone, choose one forward opponent controls, dull it. And then, for 0 CP, choose a forward opponent controls, deal it 2,000 damage. You can only use this ability once per turn. That's a really great ability when your list is playing Sakura, like we just saw.
Yeah,
so Sakura,
absolutely.
I mean, Sakura is the pit crew to this deck, just coming in and refilling the tank. I can't say enough good things about Sakura and what Anima is providing it for just sort of an efficient, more
pennies
or less
on
free
the dollar
way.
is what it is. Yeah, pennies on the dollar is the value you're getting there.
And to a player like Matiski, I mean, he's gonna make good use of those resources too.
Yep, and of course it's in a great position here because now Yasmat, there's nothing on that board for him to break. So, I think now if there's a time to try to generate some Fiona value, it might be the time now.
Yeah, pretty wild to play around that Yasmat so effectively. I mean, that's
Right, so we got some chain action here, so we're probably going to send the red cap packing here.
Yeah, well, he could.
The red cap a forward all the time, or is it just on your turn again? That's a card that I'd have to pull up and dust off to read.
For the sake of the viewers, Chris, of course we know all of these things, but we'll pull it up and read about red cap. No, it's during your turn. Red cap also becomes a forward with 7,000 power. So right now it's just another monster. And
so are we going to reduce the? So we're going to reduce the so maybe the Yzamat's dead here because we had to have damaged something 2K or Terra. We're just going to get rid of Terra and we're not popping the Unsaganashi. But I guess if we did target the Yzamat, we're definitely going to target the Unsaganashi. Now I guess if you're Shantoto here, do you go ahead and just break the red cap here? Just to really force the issue? So Shantoto, I believe, breaks a character of 3 or less. And, of course, we got Glauca triggers all day long here.
I wouldn't even hate breaking the Unsaganashi at this point.
Oh, that's a good call. Force it. That's an excellent choice.
Red cap is just really not going to match up with your forwards. I mean, he's sort of there. And Yasmat, it gets a lot less scary when the protection's gone.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. Just take the Unsag off the table. Absolutely. I think Matisky's weighing all of his options
Yeah.
here.
What a
Because you don't
turn.
so much need. Yeah, absolutely, that was a huge turn again. Glauca really just being the catalyst for all of this, reducing all of that CP. You're saving yourself. Um, I mean, you're well. Not only are you saving him, but okay. So here we go. He was going to break it, so he popped the Unsag in response.
Yeah, totally fine.
Yep, Kadaj is coming in here.
Well, if you told me that we were going to watch Chris Matisky and Kurosawa play a round of FFTCG, this is what I would have hoped we've seen. I think this has
Mm-hmm.
been a really enjoyable match to watch. Both of these decks are pretty neat, but
Absolutely.
they're slugging it out right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I think if you're Matisky here, again, a lot has changed since the beginning of this turn. Yizmat's got some targets here. Um, Kadash can go back off the table like he just did. Kurosawa's he's in a spot here. He is definitely in a spot.
He does have a way of dealing with this board.
He does. Absolutely.
I'd love to see it. I would get very excited.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he had it, we'd probably, if I had it, I would slam it down immediately. So
Yeah, I would definitely take out the garbage here. So you got to figure, all right, Yizmat's going to get rid of something. You have to get Kane or Shantoto off the board, preferably the Shantoto, just because it's the biggest threatening body.
I think so too.
Um,
Plus, at least we saw at one point a second ram pair go to hand. If it's still there, we
mhm,
don't want to give Kane another turn to be played. So leaving Kane out has
exactly.
its advantage as well.
No, absolutely. And Yizmat potentially, assuming there's another turn left in this game, Yizmat can deal with Kane another time. So let's see here, Kurosawa going deep in the tank here.
So the line we're hinting towards is that he's running the Barthandelis. We've seen two of those already, and what that card does when it enters play,
Mhm,
it deals damage to all four his opponent controls equal to their power minus 2,000. But what we
mhm,
haven't seen, and considering we're well into the mid game here and we've seen both players draw a lot of cards, we haven't seen any copies of Pandemonium, which if you were to pair up with
mhm.
Barthandelis, I mean, your Pandemonium's dealing 2,000 damage to all four. Conveniently, the amount of damage they could take before they break, or they,
Mhm.
right to that point where they would break. So, I think if he had that in his hand, there's no additional thought process. He would play it right away. So this is the time if you could access that. It's kind of a bummer, I
Absolutely.
guess, to see those two Barthandelis, and when you're thinking about that type of a combo of two very specific cards, Citra and Terra are in here to give you access to Pandemonium over and over again.
Mhm.
But at risk of sounding like a broken record, it sure would have been nice to Fiona those into your hand a couple times in those turns that were more quiet than this one. We would have been in a great spot if we could have tutored those up, waiting for the go
Absolutely.
wide turn.
And as expected, Shantoto has been taken off the board by Yizmat. And I do like the again, you kind of hit the nail right on the head that, since you don't have access to cards like Fina and Valifor, or just primarily Fina in a wind fire list, having using Princess Sarah or the class second Moogle to give you some ice um, CP to play the Barthandelus, to pretty much act as and that in Pandemonium kind of act as that Fina Valifor turn, which is just a really really great way to deal with these wide boards. But like you said, we haven't seen any of this stuff. But again, is this the potential for again? It could not using Fiona those two chances he had. Could that maybe attribute to him maybe not having access to those cards at this moment?
I would think, certainly you'd like hindsight's 2020 and everything. But you certainly would have liked to have seen that in your grip. But
Absolutely.
so the red cap attack makes sense because you literally can't do anything with it. He's turned on Tyro, but that's not ultimately important right now compared to everything else that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely interested to see. We know we were getting what, about 6 cards in hand. I think he had 4 last turn, 5 backups. Guess he doesn't have but so much to do, or he would have
Mm-hmm.
activated all of his characters with Yasmat.
Yep, and you've got to get something down, right? Because when Kadaj comes back in, you're just turning Yizmat sideways, and you're
Right.
just going to sleep for game. So you need some more bodies on the board. You need something.
Another
You need a
Insaganashi
way to
wouldn't be
build this
bad.
board. Okay, so we got a pandemonium here. So is this going to be the turn? Are we going to get to
God,
see it?
I would be so excited. I would be so
I can hear it in
excited.
your voice. All right,
This
so
is
pandemonium.
this is the yeah. Oh no, another pandemonium. My glare was up.
Okay.
No, is that the same one?
Yeah, same one. Same one. I
Okay.
think there's
Okay.
some talking going on. So we're going to reactivate. Are we going to see it? Is it time?
I
Is it
mean, he
time?
could Fiona here and go get it. I think he's doing it.
Oh, oh, we got
Yes.
it. That is a board white boyos. Well, can he use Tiro to protect? Tiro's damage 5.
Yep. Yep. I
Yep. So
thought he
yeah,
was 3 in my head too. Maybe I said it. I know I thought it,
mm-hmm.
but
Yeah. So
damage
that
5.
board is out of here. Send them pack and hit the showers, boys.
I
And Sakura.
love. There's nothing more I love than someone look drawing something up on paper and saying that wouldn't it be neat, and then getting it done. That's beautiful.
Yep. Snatching victory from the jaws of defeat here, because if we don't have
Oh
that,
yeah.
we're probably just done on the next turn.
Oh yeah. There's nothing else that your list is going to provide you. This is
Mm-hmm.
exactly why you're playing those 2 cards.
Yeah, they're dead. They're dead, Jim. Splat.
I think Motiski's just evaluating his options here. He does have things he can do, so can he do anything to
Can he
recoup some of the resources he's lost?
exactly? Is there anything he can do to buff? Is there any? Yeah, all right. I think we're. Oh, right. I think yeah, Barty's 2-4. It's 2 forwards.
Oh,
Not
it's 2. Okay, it's still pretty good though. It's still
yeah,
pretty good.
absolutely. Because Glauca. I mean, granted, Glauca and
Thanks for catching that. Yeah,
Sakura. That's okay.
but you're right, and he's gotten rid of the 2 major issues.
Yeah,
And then
well,
we're
we're killing
breaking
Glauca
Warrior.
now with Warrior. Yep, we broke Warrior to deal 5,000 to Glauca, so he's hitting the showers. Now we've got Sakura just she was surrounded by her boyos, and now they're just gone. They're all just gone. And now Kadaj is coming back. Probably going to go ahead and get Yizmat out of the way.
I think that's smart. No harm in being aggressive here. You've got him at 5. I think that's definitely your line.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to leave anything on that field too, Sakura is just a bummer to survive because it means you can't do it again. And this is a great turn to play another Sakura if there's a way you could have enabled her draw mechanic, because this is where you want to go to your bullpen, so to speak. You want to
Pretty much.
call timeout and throw the rhythm off a little bit, get some cards in your hand, get some more options. But you're Matiski, you're not that far behind. You just need 2 more points of damage, and Kadaj is probably going to be one of them this turn. I mean, I don't know, but Barthandelis has done his job. What about his second part of that card that we didn't really talk about?
Oh yeah. There is more text to that card. Very much an unsung legend. So so at the end of each of your opponent's turn, dull and freeze all the active backups they control. So if whatever CP Matiski doesn't use from his backups, it's just gone, just off the table.
Oh, it's not even gone. I mean, it's gone twice over.
Yeah.
That's pretty. So it really addresses the Tyro mechanic, makes it, turns it into an aggressive play only, so to speak.
Yep. All right, so here comes another Glauca. I think we're just going to go ahead and use the Tiro here because you can't really get the mileage out of it. I mean, you're not using it anyway because you're only at damage 3. But now Glauca is going to. Maybe we have another forward we can play to try to put Sakura over the. No, because we're buffing the Kadaz just in case. We're
Is there
taking it. We're going
something?
to 6. Oh, you hate to see that Ritz going to
Yeah,
damage.
yeah. Is there instant speed interaction on Barthandelis we could expect here?
I don't know. I'm looking at Matiski's list. There really isn't. I mean, we're playing 3 of the Revenant Wings riding.
Yeah, we
That's
saw
the
him
only stuff that's
earlier.
only instant speed. So maybe if Glauca buffed the Sakura, you can swing the Sakura in. Maybe try to get the. I mean, that might be the play, right? Um, if that's the case, maybe he tapped in correctly where you should have left the potential for the lightning CP up because you could
Right.
have used Glauca, buffed the Sakura off the trigger. Sakura can swing in. At that point, the Barthandelis has to block.
Now I think we're
Cujo, we're breaking
breaking
nothing.
red. Oh yeah, no targets,
Yep, yep.
but
So
still
Cujo
a
just
still a
nothing
dude.
happens.
All right,
Very
so
very interesting.
we've seen functionally both writs have been removed from play,
Yeah,
but Ritz is in the list here to do this go get it done.
yeah.
And
We need bodies on the table right now because again, Yizamat's pretty much going to be off the table.
yeah, I think Yizmat's recycling your backups each turn at this point. I think have some stuff in main one and then get your backups back. Yizmat activating all characters, so getting a free activation phase and forcing your opponent to use their backups on their turn every turn is a really interesting pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Kurosawa has twisted the rules of the game to be purely in his favor, but he's at 6 points of damage, so let's see if it matters long enough for it to be truly a point of advantage for him.
Absolutely.
Well, it's not hurting. I mean, I guess if you're at 6 points of damage, you could have a worse board in front of you. You're still certainly in the game here.
No, that is true, and I think we need to get at least 2 forwards on the board. I don't know how many cards are in Matiski's hand, but we could be very soon because you see Libertas in the deck. You have to worry about Nyx coming in and removing a body. Kadaj is going to move somebody out of the way. Nyx is going to move somebody out of the way. Um, you really just need to make sure you have enough bodies to just stop the onslaught that's going to be coming.
Yeah, I think what I like here is probably Braska's Final Aeon. I mean, of course, you like that card pretty much any time you play it, but it's a great time to throw that down.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what do we do with the Yizmat here? Do we just an empty activation? Oh, okay, no, we're doing it now. Okay. So I think we are gonna go ahead and Fiona here. Yep. Pitching that extra Yizmat we don't need. And what do we search for here? This is the key play.
I think if he has Ritz or Marsh in hand, he gets the other one.
Okay.
If not, Braska's Final Aeon makes sense to me. I mean, what has he got? Just one card in hand over there?
It might be 1 or 2.
Well,
He's got to have. He's got 4. Okay,
he
jeez.
slow
Okay,
rolled
no.
us big time there. So he could get anything really and do what he wants. Unsaganashi wouldn't be a bad target here. He's got 3 of them and lets him be aggressive and lets him at least buy his a turn.
That is very very true. So he's going in the tank. All right, so there it is,
There it is.
BFA.
Only thing that would make BFA better is if he's got Unsaganashi to chase it with as well.
He might. He just might. He got a full grip. He is lock stock.
All right, now we're in combat phase. Guess you don't do anything here. You still need a little bit more to start trying to win.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, we're still in main one. Because
fair, yeah.
Yizmat trigger happens at the beginning of the turn. So now we're in main one. But I agree with you. I don't know if we can we even go to combat here.
I mean, Redcap could swing in, but all he's going to do is bounce off Kuja. I mean, I guess It'd be hilarious if you had a
Very
Belias in
hard.
hand.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly could. It'd be an efficient play here. I
Mm-hmm.
think if you're Matiski, probably just take the damage.
Yep. I mean, because Red Cap's pretty much ineffective on your opponent's turn. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, because after that, yeah, Red Cap's not really doing anything. Yep, and I guess if you are Matiski, you do have to worry about Belias, but we're gonna take it. We've got damage to give. We got points to
Yeah,
give.
yeah.
Oh, there's a Rampair, so no burst here to help. Nothing to really press the advantage here.
Still think it's the right play. I mean, you could potentially, I guess, block with Sakura just to have that option again.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you're so close. He's at 6 points of damage. The more bodies are pretty important here.
Absolutely, yeah. You want
You
to try to
know
press.
BFA's coming down too.
No, absolutely.
I mean, if he plays Unsaganashi and BFA in one turn here,
That's huge. That would be absolutely
yeah. I
huge.
mean, he's got cards to do it.
Mm-hmm. So there's 2 cards in hand. Are we dumping? Oh
No,
no,
he's
no,
as a
nothing.
pass. Well, you're not gonna dull Braska's final Aeon, that's for sure.
Ew. But we are
He's
gonna.
kept a fire source up too as well. I think that Belias would be a wonderful thing to be sitting on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to imagine that Matiski knows that he has it.
Well, I think he's seen it. I think it's come out and to pay for some car. Or he came out with Terra, I think, and he got it right back. So it knows it exists.
Yep. And I don't have we seen him pitch. I don't think we've seen him pitch that Belias. So I think it's still there. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, 1K and first strike and drawing a card. It's a lot to account for right now.
Yep. So I think what we need to see here, I think Kadaj takes Yizmat away. Um, you can. We'll just we'll see if there's a Nyx out here. You'll play Nyx. Um, play Nyx. Break the BFA. You'll lose probably the Kuja. Um,
Let's get wild and
mhm.
imagine what a Kuja special would look like.
Oh boy, you're a wild man.
I mean, we already saw Barthandelis and Pandemonium, so I'm feeling bold here about what are our options. I mean, it would take a lot of resources, but deal 2K to and then 5K. Now we're not really getting much done there, are we? Choose 2 forwards, opponent controls, dealing 2,000, then 5,000 to all the damage forwards. That's not
But
even
if he
really.
follows up with the Raiden,
Yeah,
th-
that would be a turn.
Adam, this is the Influencers Cup. You got to go big or go home.
I'm with you. Let's see it happen. I mean, and another thing to consider here too, Matiski has so much more time than I think it looks like he has because he's got Aranea. So if Kurosawa can't put him out in one turn here, which he could do potentially, I mean he's getting there. He's played all the big cards he's wanted to, but if you get to damage 6 with 3 Aranea in your deck, I think you're kind of okay.
Yeah, it goes back to kind of being that shoal like turn, which I think this deck can do. I mean, the early pressure with Kadaj puts you in a good position where maybe you don't need that, but if you find yourself on the back foot, you can just have this amazing Glauca turn with Aranea, and then you're just swinging for the yard. And of course, Matiski doing pretty much all of this off of 3 backups, which can be difficult. So here comes Garland. So we've got to break a character here.
I'd break Sakura so I'd play it again if I could.
Absolutely. Okay, so Glauca trigger. So what are we going to break here with the Garland?
Could potentially break one of those searcher backups and search for something else. I mean, I think he's got a full grip. I don't think he's running on a low hand resource, but yeah, I don't know. I think Sakura is my choice. just out of the fact that it.
Nope, we're breaking the Moogle. We are breaking the the class 10th Moogle with the Garland. Maybe we need the forwards too much. And it looks like the Sakura trigger is going on to, or sorry, the Glauca trigger is going on to the Gadaj. It looks like. We're trying to do the math here, and so what was Kadaj's trigger? I guess we went. Did we go 2K and
Yeah,
Brave?
yeah. So he's
Okay.
12K now.
Okay. Yeah, so Yizmat's not stepping over that, which is smart because that's where. Yeah, so even with the Belias, we're good there.
Barthandelis definitely makes sense.
Yep.
Barthandelis has done its job.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, your opponent is abandoning backups at this stage in the game, more or less. So that other clause is just kind of okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think at this point, with only 2 backups, I don't think a turn's going to go by where Matiski does not tap his backups. So
Yeah,
Kadaj is piecing out.
saying deal with it. I mean, I'm going to do that every turn, more or less. I think that this next turn, you got Garland with first strike, but Glauca might be the bigger issue.
It's true. Well, because I don't think you care so much about the first strike because if you're going to be aggressive and you're going to turn BFA sideways, you're probably going to go ahead and nuke the Garland.
You only do that if you find Unsaganashi.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think if you have Unsaganashi, you can attack willy nilly and just live your best life.
But you draw 2 cards, and if it's not Unsaganashi, you potentially go get it.
Yeah, with Fiona, because we've seen one in Saganashi, we've seen one in damage, so there's a third one somewhere in the remaining deck.
He's got 2 Citra in the list too, so
Oh
Citra
yeah,
could be.
Citra could definitely get it back. All right, so we have a?
If we have a way of dealing with that Kadaj, we do it right away.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. So we're in. I guess we're backtracking a tad to main 2.
And if you're watching this game as a new player and you're wondering how do I get started, you go buy that deck with Kadaj in it. That is your jumping off point, and you couldn't be
Absolutely.
in a better place. Oh, we're red capping the Kadaj, who's got marked for damage from Barthandelis.
Yeah, that is a smart play, and we are sending him packing. Yep, the red cap going to do 7K.
I'm gonna give MVP considerations to Barthandelis, but I did not expect to see Redcap get so much mileage out of this.
And red cap definitely fighting above its current weight class.
Right.
Clashing with Titans is what red cap has been doing.
Redcap is that
fantastic.
That bench player that is just making a name in the playoffs out of nowhere, just getting on a hot streak.
Absolutely, and Kadaj being taken out of the equation is absolutely huge. Now let's see here. I'm looking at Matiski's list here. Now there was only one Kadaj in the list, so there is no second coming, no takesies backsies on that one, sir.
No Act 2 for the Kadaj,
that's right.
Which is, yeah, I mean, almost feels fair. I don't even know if we want to see that card do more than it's done. So we're
Fiona.
Yeah,
we're doing it.
If you're not getting Unsaganashi here, I'm surprised. I mean, I can't imagine unless it's Marsh Ritz, but I still like Unsaganashi a lot.
Yeah, I feel like you have to get Unsaganashi because then you can.
Then you get to be aggressive and you get to be defensive at the same time. You want to be both of those things.
Absolutely. Let's see here because I think the cards in your hand right now are probably Belias and don't know, but if we get the Unsaganashi here, again, yeah, that's potential. That's a lot of mayhem that BFA can cause having that protection.
What a match, though. I mean, it has been just well played by both of these gentlemen.
A lot of back and forth, absolutely. As we approach the 60-minute mark on this game of L3, this single game of L3, it just shows you that the staying power of some of these. But again, too, you also have to take into consideration, had Kurosawa seen that early Marsh Ritz. Well, speak of the devil,
Hey,
that may be what we're seeing here.
so if you've got Ritz and Unsaganashi in hand,
Oh, you feel just tickled pink, sir.
except that Marsh, no, Marsh is, yeah, you just Marsh Ritz now, pitch the Ritz. Oh, oh
We're letting
boy.
BFA attack twice. Was not ready
Oh
for that. Was not
boy.
ready for the Chalinka.
That was the twist. He
Oh,
got me with that one, not gonna lie.
that's right. You got me with the M Night Shyamalan here. We have just been Sixth Sense, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh wow.
BFA's been attacking twice this whole. He's been dead the whole time. All right, so I think you got to nuke the. And does it give?
It gives him Brave, so
Oh
he's
man,
Garland
absolutely.
and Kuja, I guess, just so that you can get in with Redcap too.
Yeah, I think you get the big bodies out of here. I think you nuke. You give the old boot scoot boop. Man, Chalinka just coming in at the right time.
That was clutch.
Mm-hmm.
He had that in hand, and he. I feel like we just got a little slow rolled with the Marsh. It's like, oh, he's gonna do Marsh Ritz. By God, that's Jalinka's music.
That's Chalinka's music, exactly. Of course, Chalinka, a card that we're a fan of here at the RVA Returners. That was one of our Opus 11 spoilers. And that card paying some serious dividends right now with, just hopping up on BFA's shoulder and just pointing him in the direction and telling him to go.
Oh, it's
What?
great. What a
What?
time to play that card. I mean, what a perfect time. He's got one copy in the list.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're gonna. I mean, what can you be saved by the bursts here? Is there anything that really?
I don't think so. I don't think there is much there unless we maybe flip a Tiro on burst to get a forward that would be very, very helpful. All right, so BFA is coming in on that first attack.
We gotten rid of Garland.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna win here, so he might go to six
Oh my
damage. Hey,
goodness, we
look at
flipped the
that.
Tiro. We flipped the Tiro. That is huge. The old 5th point of damage burst Tiro. What do we grab here? Like what's gonna save you here? Like is it when I think of just the removal, like it's gotta be a Nyx, right? Like that's the
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say Nyx makes a lot of sense.
mm-hmm.
Something that can two for one you, because I mean, BFA is gonna take down whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about how clutch that Kadaj removal was. If he hadn't gotten that out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
then that Nyx might have just sealed the game for Matiski. It still might have, but Kadaj can come down and dull one thing, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever
So
he's getting is likely a response to BFA.
it has to. Like it's gotta be you gotta get something here that can pretty much put this thing away next turn because really beyond that, um,
If you get an
you got
Aranea, do you? I mean, he's at 5 points of damage, but is Aranea enough
mhm.
pressure to get over this?
I'm honestly not sure because here's what's going to happen. What could potentially happen if Matiski doesn't put it away this turn with the Yizmat trigger? You're just going to keep returning Chalinka to your hand, and then you're going to play it again on BFA.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, he's got to get something to put this baby to bed immediately. Otherwise, Chalinka and BFA are just gonna
Yeah.
they're just going to win this game on the next turn. Also, a very neat interaction with Yizmat, just being able to pay for bouncing the Chalinka back to your hand and then just playing it again. So again, Yizmat, very very neat interactions with all the activation, which we're starting to see here in the second half of the game. Just really that neutral ability being showcased.
Yeah,
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 see, there it
there's
is.
the
We're grabbing
Nyx.
the Knicks as predicted because that's really the only piece of hard, clean removal in his list.
I think
Which, of course,
Yizmat is starting to catch up to what Kadaj provided on the other side of the table here.
Absolutely, yeah. Yasmat being around pretty much since like turn 3, paying those dividends. And again, Nyx, a very, very powerful card. Nyx is my favorite card in Opus 11. And, we have potentially, we'll see why on the next turn because it could seal the deal. Now, BFA gets a second attack here. Most likely going to get the Kuja out of the way, like you said.
You got to turn Redcap sideways. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so get BFA coming through again. Send the Kuja packing, and then turn Redcap sideways, and then
You can attack with. I mean, if you have in Saganashi, you just win. But I don't. I mean, I think he's got 2 cards in hand, and one of them is
one's Marsh.
We think one's maybe Belias, which doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think one's Marsh, one's Belias. I'm pretty sure the one is Marsh because we didn't see him pitch that one to play the Chelinka, which makes sense. It would make sense if the Marsh is in hand and the other card is Belias.
Yeah, and that would help. That would make Yasmat, give you a turn on him.
Absolutely. All right, so we're nuking the Kuja, but also too, what's rough is I think if you're Matiski going into the next turn, maybe you can take this damage.
I think so.
Or all right, so we're killing the Glauca. Interesting.
Well, you don't want things getting bigger, and that's what Glauca does, right?
Well, what I'm concerned with is, oh man, we're getting another burst, getting more cards into the hand. The reason I'm concerned there is because we're at damage 6. We could have a huge Aranea, get back Glauca, play Nyx, remove a body. All your guys have haste turn.
And
honestly, we haven't seen a single Aranea yet.
And Aranea only gets Sakura or Glauca. So now Aranea can go. I mean, you still play Aranea if you have it, but now you just get everything you want accomplished.
Yep, I agree, and that's kind of telling, right? Because I think that's why I would have picked the Kuja, and then if they block with Glauca, then maybe they have it. But also, too, at the same time, if you block with Glauca, you're not going to get that. And we did not swing with Redcap.
That's interesting. I would say too. Well, Kuja's there still. I mean,
which is making the not nuking the Kuja very, very odd.
Realistically, though, we know we're on 3 Aranea. Kurosawa doesn't know that, so it's easy for us to sit here and say it that way.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very easy to armchair quarterback. And again, these are 2 world-class players. One of them the defending world champion. So
playing some incredible decks. Hats off to both of them. This has been such a enjoyable match to watch.
Well, absolutely, and I'm glad you said it that way as we go into these final turns, or it could potentially be these final turns. This has been a very good glimpse into what L3 could be. You got some very interesting interactive games, games that can go the distance. As we approach the hour and 8th minute of this single game. So you've got the decks they got legs, right? They've got bones. They've got the ability to really put something cohesive together using only 3 sets too. And there's some very this is a good iteration of L3, to be honest. L3's been around for this might be the 2nd or 3rd cycle of L3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean this is got to be the top of or certainly in the top spectrum of what L3 is capable of.
It's definitely the best that it's been, sure, and I think that's made possible only by just the amazing, powerful cards that were in Opus 11 that kind of, they can kind of act on their own, but they also synergize very well with cards in that set and some cards from a previous set. So.
Such an interesting turn. I think you're right. I think we're at the end either way. If he's got Aranea, he's got Nyx. We know he's probably going to get rid of BFA, but it's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matiski's got to figure out how to mitigate some of that damage.
I mean, what happens if you just play Nyx straight to this board right now? Not a lot. Not a lot that you want. I mean, you put Nyx right into the break zone and break BFA and then lose Kuja.
Yeah,
That's not what you necessarily want to do. I mean, that's not going to help you. We don't, can't see how many cards he has in hand, so yeah, we got to be realistic about what we could expect too from this turn. But demanding answers here, and on top of that, he just draws Ritz, and more or less, if you don't make him burn his resources in hand, he's just a Ritz draw away from winning, most likely.
no, absolutely, absolutely. So this is a big turn for Matiski here.
Sitting comfortably from their homes over webcam matches here, but you got to imagine both of these players are just so
Mm-hmm.
tense at this point, trying to figure out what's going to happen next.
No, absolutely. These are the type of games you sign up for. So let's see. I mean, he is definitely deep in the tank. He is computing because like you have to do this right, or this game is over. Or you might not have an out. You might not have an out. You might compute all the numbers. You crunch all the possibilities. You might not have one. Chelinka coming in to save the day was absolutely huge. But also, again, let's give that MVP consideration to Redcap. That the Barthandel is setting up the alley oop, and Redcap just dunking it home, just the old shack attack.
I gotta imagine this is what the ending of Rocky 3 would look like if we got to watch the actual the fun fight between Apollo and Rocky.
Absolutely, that's a
Kurosawa
great
just,
metaphor
you want to ring the bell? Ding, ding.
there. Indeed.
Really just two of the best players having a game that doesn't matter what's at stake here. They both brought their A game.
Hmm. So I'm very curious to see how Matiski answers this. I mean, and you have to imagine, like I said, that Nyx is part of the equation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he searched them up for a reason, for sure. And I would imagine Arnea is in his hand because this is the position if you're running 3 Arnea, it's because you want a player at 6 damage. And
Hmm.
so here we are. It's just you've run into a brick wall with barbed wire around it that's also got a machine gun at the top and BFA.
Hmm.
How do you get over top that?
And Redcap just mouthing off to everybody from behind those two big galoots.
Exactly. Redcap taking full responsibility, which is somehow earned. Has certainly been a quiet MVP. Still, I feel. I don't know. Chalinka really. Maybe Chalinka heard me say that and said, "I'll show you what an MVP looks like here at the end of this
That's
match."
right. Absolutely. So let's see here. Again, Matiski still taking his time here, still deep in the tank, just calculating all possibilities, checking on cards in hand.
I mean,
Sequencing here is very important.
you've got to. I mean, you can't you can't question this. This is there's a very specific way that Matiski can win if he can. I mean, there's not like he has multiple avenues to victory here at this point. So
Hmm.
this is the decision that determines the outcome, and he's doing the Doctor Strange thing. He's going through the 20,000 different outcomes that could happen here.
Hmm.
Well, all right, can't hear what they're saying, but that was a gesture or something. Maybe he's saying, okay, I'm gonna do something here.
But what is that something going to be, sir? Okay, here we go. So we pitch a Glauca? All right.
Maybe he's doing that old what cards you got in hand trick at the end of a long match.
Oh man, the classic. Now this is tough. I'm just trying to think of what he could possibly have. But I feel like that it has to. it has to start with an RNA. It has to involve RNA and it has to involve Nyx. All right, we're looking through break zone here. We're spreading it all out.
I
We
think
are
what he's doing is determining what could those cards be in hand.
well. It's got to be. It's
Because
definitely
it's Marsh and
Belias is
Belias,
definitely
I
one of
think.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think at this point, cause yeah, it is Marsh and Belias because we've seen the one Marsh was pitched earlier. The Belias was gotten back with a Terra. Yeah, so that is 100% the two cards in the hand. So there's no outside of a first strike and a card draw. There's no geometry here, no tricks. It's a very much a what you see is what you get. But the
Yeah.
question is, Matisky, having that knowledge, what can he do to get over that hump?
Well, he
And,
probably knows. I mean, he probably remembers as much as we do that that's what's in the hand. And I don't know. Either way, you got a 11K first strike, which
mhm.
that's going to block as long as you want it to.
Right. Well, let's go through the motions here. I don't know how many cards Matisky has in hand, and that's important. Now, if we have an Aranea, we can play Aranea Glauca. If we can discard 2 from hand to play Aranea, get the Glauca, tap 1 and pitch another card and play the Nyx. Now the question is, because if you play the Glauca, you put the buff on Aranea, so she'll be a 7, 8, 9, 10. Then when you play the Nyx, you Glauca buff to give Aranea the plus 1,000 to make her an 11K, and you break the Nyx. You break the Nyx to break the BFA. So Aranea will survive. But I guess knowing that, then you kill the Kuja. Yeah, that's tough. Oh my god, that's tough. I don't know if he has enough.
That's what
I'm
I'm
just trying to
feeling like.
find
I
out some
think
sequences.
it's just not there.
Yeah. Because even still, like even if you take BFA off the table, I don't think you have enough to win because you at that point you just Belias the Yizmat and nothing's getting through. Because then on the next turn you just swing twice. You just do the Yizmat, bounce Chelinka back to hand, swing twice with Yizmat, extend the hand. So yeah, this is tough. This is absolutely tough. I don't know what he had. I don't know if there's anything he can do. Even if we bring Aranea Glauca into the equation, because it looks like he's got 5 or 6 cards in hand. This is tough. This is quite the pickle to be in.
Oh, for sure. I think that's what it is too. I think it's just Nick's.
Nyx just
Maybe
might not be enough here.
if Nyx had another Kingsglaive target other than himself, it would change the equation considerably, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
All right,
So
well,
here
we're
we
going to
go.
see it. We're going to see what happens. Okay.
Okay. Well, we're playing Regis. I guess we're going to search up a Libertas. Oh, we're searching up a Glauca. Okay. So what are we doing here? I think the way he's flopping cards around, it might be there might be he's either got the answer and he's going to power through it, or he knows the jig is up and he's just going to play it. So here we go, Aranea. We pitch 2. We're going to get the probably going
Glock
to
is
get
the only
Glauca here.
target. The only legal target, really. I mean,
Is
Sakra's the
Glauca.
target too.
All right. So here we go.
They all have haste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think at this point, this is the line you take, and then you just say, "I'm pretty sure you've got that, Belias. Go ahead and show
Yep.
it to me."
8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. But here's the thing. It's
I guess you could party attack, right? Nope, first strike still doesn't care about that.
yeah, exactly. This is a pickle, and Matisky can't just sit there. Because what's going to end up happening is, again, it's going to go back to Yizmat bouncing that Chelinka back, and then you're just going to nuke the Kuja, and then you're just going to nuke the RNA on the second attack.
I mean, they don't have but so many cards left in deck too. I mean, we're gonna draw Ritz eventually if we don't are. Well, we don't have it yet,
Oh
but
yeah, oh man, yeah, because we've got the Martian. That's kind of what we're banking on, right? Like we can. Oh, because even still, right? Like even if you draw Wind card and whatever, you can Fiona for the Ritz.
yep,
So this is the classic rock in a hard place.
yep.
Um, so I think if you're Matisky, you might have to force him to use that Belias this turn. But also too, Tiro. Tiro is going to be a huge equalizer here.
Very true.
Because let's see, Aranea right now is an 11K. She'll be a 13K with Tiro with first strike. Oh no, if the Glauca trigger went onto Aranea, then yes, she's an 11K. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So she'd be a 13K with Tiro, which is huge. So I feel like you have to swing with Aranea. You have to swing with Aranea to force one of those big galoots to block.
Yeah, and I think you don't use that Belias until you've seen a party or something.
Yes.
If Aranea is party attacking at the power level
Mm-hmm.
that she has, you just say thanks for all the fish, Yasmat.
Yep.
You got us
Oh
here.
no, I think if Aranea comes in, you block with BFA because you need that Fiona activation to get Ritz to win this game.
Yep, that's a good point. And then you still get the
Yeah.
nuke off of I guess you
Yep.
don't. That's right. That's BFA's only on target or attack.
Yep. Yep. You just let BFA die. Just block with the RNA, and then you can just. Well, let's see here because if he party it, yeah, he'll just kill them both. Well, let's see here. So RNA is going to come in. You block with BFA. Um, that's fine. RNA will take no damage because she has first strike, and then you party with the Kuja and the Sakura. Yizmat blocks Belias first strike. You kill the Kuja, so you're marked for 5. Yeah, the Glauc is not going to be enough. Well, no, shit. Because kill the Kuja, and then Yizmat gets marked for 5K.
But Yasmat, if we know our hands has first strike from Belias too.
Right, but that'll only be enough. Because won't the leftover damage, like Kuja, he'll do his first strike damage to Kuja, for instance.
Yeah.
And then won't Sakura's 5K mark? Won't Sakura's damage mark Yizmat at that point, or does first strike just absorb it?
No, it depends on the sequencing of combat. Still, I think so. I might have just lost you.
Right. So what I'm saying is, so she right now RNA is an 11K first strike. Swing with RNA. You have to. Oh no, you have to use Tiro. So never mind. Yeah, Yizmat still lives because in order for RNA to survive her attack, you have to use Tiro. So here comes the party attack.
Huh. That's not the party attack I expected.
No. So I think. All right.
So that's a 10K party attack.
Yep. Well, I think you block with you bump the.
I think you block with BFA and you use Belias and
Yeah, draw a card. Yep. Hmm. This is a very, very like what does Matiski? I don't. Does he have any cards in hand? That's the other thing. Quite a nail biter coming down here at the
it
end.
really is.
All right.
We ran all
So
those hypotheticals out and didn't anticipate the Glauca Sakura party.
yeah, no one was prepared for that one. I'm just trying to think here. Like there's something I'm missing. And again, this is what. Okay, so we're gonna do it. We're
Yeah.
gonna Belias the BFA. We're gonna draw a card off of it. So 11K first strike, get a sweet rip, and then we're gonna block and kill them both. So they're both dead. They're off the table.
And RNA's power
Yeah.
level's
So
a lot
yeah.
lower now.
Oh, they're extending the hand. I think that's a wrap. That is
Yeah.
a wrap. I don't think Matiski did not have an answer for it.
Yeah, that's what I think too. He just knew that the Belias was there and said, okay, well, you know what? If you've got it, you've got it. And he had it.
Yep.
What
Absolutely.
a match.
Chalinka and Redcap just doing a lot of work. I mean, really, if you boil it down, the big play of the game there was that Chalinka getting that double attack on BFA. But there was just a lot of things that happened throughout that game on Kurosawa's side. The Barthandalis Pandemonium getting rid of 2 big bodies. The Yizmat killing the Shantoto. Going back to the Yizmat, that thing surviving pretty much the entire game. And then you're looking at Redcap just killing the Kadaj. Redcap sneaking in a couple points of damage. So
Yeah,
a
really stealing the show.
lot happened there.
I mean that was wonderful game. Kadaj early, it definitely. I mean, if that Kadaj doesn't get play, we don't get that whole match. But hats off to both of them. Wonderful, wonderful lists. Well played. Just a joy to
Absolutely.
watch. Chris, thank you for joining me here on behalf of Square Enix. The RVA Returner is signing off. We'll see you
Absolutely.
next time.
Take care.